The Galactic Biology Summit was held once every 5 years. Aliens from hundreds of planets gathered in a giant floating station above a blue gas giant. Scholars, scientists, observers, and diplomats sat in rows, listening to lectures from every species. It was quiet, respectful, and very serious until the humans stepped up. Captain Leon Morgan, a tall and confident human, stood at the podium. He was not a scientist, but a decorated soldier who had served in over 9 planetary missions. He had been invited not to give technical details, but to explain how humans survived not just war or harsh planets, but their incredible energy. Adaptability and something more private? Leon tapped the mic, looked around, and smiled. "I know what you're all wondering," he said. "Why are humans still standing after so much chaos?" Laughter rippled through the hall, light but polite. "Let me show you something," he added, clicking his display screen behind him. Graphs appeared: heart rate, muscle repair speed, hormonal cycles. He explained sleep recovery, stress hormones, and even romantic bonding. Some alien scholars nodded, others scribbled notes. But then came the unexpected. A soft voice echoed through the room. It was a female alien young with blue skin, for delicate arms and intelligent eyes. Her name tag glowed. Rika of Torvax. Raised her tentacle politely, but her words hit like a shockwave. "Excuse me," she said. "How can humans mate 365 days a year without breaking their tool?" The room froze. Silence spread like cold water. Even the air vents seemed to pause. Some scholars gasped. Some covered their mouths. Some turned red, especially the humans. Leon blinked, then grinned. He wasn't embarrassed. Instead, he walked slowly toward the edge of the stage. "Well," he said, voice steady, "that's a very good question." Some chuckled nervously. Others looked furious, but Rika remained calm. "I mean no offense," she added, "but our males require 3 moon cycles of rest." A tall reptilian professor hissed in agreement. Yes, recovery is essential. "Overstimulation leads to cellular collapse," another species nodded. "Some of us explode if overused." Leon scratched his head and chuckled softly. "We don't," he replied. "Not if we're careful and not if we're motivated." The hall buzzed again, whispers flying from corner to corner. This was not just biology anymore. It was culture, mystery, and taboo. Rika tilted her head, studying him closely. "Then I request permission to observe," she said. "For science now." Even the council members looked uncomfortable. But the high speaker, an ancient plant being with golden vines, raised a leaf and spoke. "If the human agrees, and the observer is willing, it is granted." Rika's eyes widened. Leon simply nodded. He had nothing to hide, and something about her made him curious. After the session, dozens of scholars swarmed around Leon, some to protest, others to beg for copies of his hormone charts. But Rika stayed quiet, her gaze never leaving him to her. This wasn't about scandal or humor. It was about truth. Why did humans not suffer damage, breakdown, or fatigue from constant mating? Was it technique, endurance, or something deeper, emotional bonding, perhaps? That night, Rika recorded her first journal entry, subject, human male, codename, Leon. Initial observation, claims high physical capacity, emotional range. Possibly tied to bonding, hypothesis, human ability to mate frequently is not purely mechanical. Light is linked to feeling. She paused, her fingers hovering over her datapad. Then she added a final note. "Tomorrow, I will begin close observation." She turned off the light, but couldn't sleep. Her mind replayed his smile, his voice, and the strange warmth in her chest when he had looked at her elsewhere. Leon sat in his room. Sipping water, he laughed to himself, whispering, "Mate, 365 days a year, huh? That's going to be one weird report." He didn't know yet, but this mission would change everything, not just science or diplomacy, but the way one alien girl would come to understand the strange, powerful thing called love. Rika stood at the docking bay of Earth's cultural exchange base. She held a smooth crystal tablet in her hands, her orders glowing clearly on the screen. Assigned subject, human male, Captain Leon Morgan. Mission: observe mating behavior, endurance, and psychological connection. She blinked slowly, her heart beating faster than usual. She had studied dozens of species, but never like this, never this closely. The station door hissed open, warm air rushing out, filled with scents she didn't recognize. Sweat, leather, something spicy human things. Leon approached wearing a sleeveless shirt, muscles visible, hair damp from training. "Hey," he greeted her casually. "You must be the alien girl who asked the famous question." Rika didn't blush. Her kind had no blood in their face, but her fingers curled tighter around her device. "Yes," she said. "I am Observer Rika. Torvax and I will monitor your performance." Leon raised one eyebrow and grinned. "Well, I hope I meet expectations." She didn't smile back, but her gaze lingered on his throat as he swallowed. There was power in his frame, but calm in his voice. He wasn't just strong, he was centered. She followed him through the hallways of the Earth facility. Carefully logging every motion, Leon's room was small, but clean. With strange posters and soft lighting, Rika's own quarters were beside his. Separated by a sliding door made of tinted glass, that night she set up sensors, pulse readers, hormone detectors, sound collectors. From behind the wall, she could hear his heartbeat through the glass. It was steady, calm. But then it changed, rising for no clear reason. She activated the scanner. He was just lying in bed. Looking at an image on his handheld device, Rika zoomed in, confused. Why would his body react this way to just pictures? The next day, she approached him during breakfast. "I observed elevated activity while you were in rest state," she said directly. Leon coughed on his coffee. Wiping his mouth, "You spying on me already?" He laughed. She tilted her head. "That is the assignment, is it not?" He shrugged, "Fair enough," then added, "What did you see?" She didn't blink. "You were viewing images that caused blood flow to your lower body." Leon choked again, then grinned. "Yeah, well, humans are visual creatures." Rika recorded that line in her notes immediately. Visual triggers stimulate human arousal without physical contact. Emotional or aesthetic attraction plays a large role. She began watching more closely. Not just his body, but his reactions. He smiled at her when she passed, held doors open, laughed during conversations. It was confusing none of these were mating signals, yet her body reacted anyway. Her skin warmed when he looked at her, her breath shortened during meals when he leaned close. One afternoon, Rika followed Leon into the gym. He was training with weights, sweat rolling down his back. She stood by the door, arms folded, pretending to observe the machines, but her eyes were locked on him. He caught her gaze and smirked. "You're welcome to try." She stepped forward, curious, and touched a dumbbell heavy. Her kind had long fingers, soft muscles built for thought, not strength. He helped her lift it, their hands brushing briefly. Electric pulses ran through her fingers, and her heart jumped. It wasn't mating, but something inside her said, "This is how it starts." Later in her report, she tried to describe the sensation. Subject demonstrates unusual traits, nonverbal, bonding, high social warmth, and emotional heat. Close physical proximity triggers unknown emotional responses in observer. She paused, tapping the edge of her tablet. Was she still observing him more? Was she being affected by him? That night, she activated her privacy screen and stared at her reflection. Her skin was glowing faintly, a biological sign of emotional arousal among her kind. This had never happened in any mission before. She touched her chest, wondering why. It felt tight when she thought of Leon. "Humans are not like us," she whispered. "They do not just bond for function, they bond for feeling." At that same moment, Leon was looking through his old messages. A friend had sent a joke. "Be careful around aliens, you might fall in love with one." He chuckled, thinking of Rika's serious face, the way she asked bold questions without shame, but then his smile faded a little because the idea didn't seem funny anymore. It seemed possible they were still strangers, but something invisible had started between them. Not a spark, not a fire, something slower, deeper the kind. A thing that didn't begin with a kiss or a touch. but with a question that had silenced the room and now echoed between two hearts. It was past midnight, and the human base had gone quiet. The halls were empty, the lights dimmed to a soft blue glow. Rika sat cross-legged in her room, staring at the soft pulse of her recording tablet. Her eyes burned from scanning data all day, but something didn't add up. Everything about human mating cycles seemed illogical, too frequent, too emotional, too risky. She needed real-time evidence. Something more than charts and hormones, so she did what many researchers before her had done. She broke a rule. She turned on the audio sensor, focused on the room next to Leon's quarters. For a moment, there was silence, only the hum of electronics and the rhythm of his breath. But then her ears caught soft, strange sounds, moans, gasps, whispering voices. She adjusted the filter and opened the video relay, expecting to see some human entertainment or a simulation. But what appeared on her screen made her eyes widen and her breath catch. Leon was not alone. There was a woman in the room, another. Human, her face half hidden by shadows. They sat on the edge of the bed, touching slowly, tenderly, as if the world outside didn't matter. It was not aggressive or quick, like some alien species, breeding habits. It was slow, careful-filled. With pauses, whispers, even laughter. Rika blinked, confused, because this did not look like science. It looked like connection. The female leaned forward, her hand against Leon's chest. He touched her face softly, brushing back her hair. Their lips met, but not just in hunger, in understanding. Rika felt heat rise in her chest, though no part of her body was involved. She felt embarrassed that she couldn't look away. Something deep inside her said, "This is not about the act. This is about the bond." As the two humans lay back, moving together, Rika muted the audio. Not out of shame, but out of respect. Her fingers trembled slightly, and her chest glowed faintly beneath her uniform. Was this why humans never broke down from constant mating? Was it because they were doing something more than mating? She reached for her journal and began writing fast. Observed, human mating includes extended pre-contact rituals, gentle touching, facial contact, eye contact. Additional note, behavior includes laughter, shared words, synchronized. Breathing. Conclusion. Bonding appears to be not just physical, but deeply emotional. She stopped writing when her hands started shaking. It was not cold, yet her body was trembling from inside. She whispered to herself, "Why am I feeling this?" For the first time in her career, the subject of her study had reached back into her own heart. The next morning, she tried to avoid him. Her mind kept replaying the scene, the warmth, the movements, the way Leon smiled afterward. She couldn't ask him about it. Not yet, but fate had other plans. Leon walked into the lab carrying 2 mugs of hot earth drink. "Hey, Doc," he said with a grin. "Thought you might need this." She looked at the steaming cup. Her voice caught in her throat. "I do not consume caffeine," she said softly. Leon laughed. "Then just pretend. Helps with awkward mornings." He handed her the mug anyway, then leaned casually against the counter. "You look like you didn't sleep," he said. Noticing her tired eyes, Rika hesitated, then replied, "I was." Analyzing emotional bonding patterns, Leon raised an eyebrow but didn't push. "Let me know if you need help with demonstrations," he joked, then quickly added, "Kidding, less that's, required." Gaze met his, and something passed between them. Not flirtation, not tension, but recognition. He knew she had seen something, and she knew he hadn't hidden it. For the rest of the day, her thoughts wouldn't slow down. Not about what she saw, but about how it felt that night. Rika sat under the artificial starlight dome in the observation deck. She had studied hundreds of species, cold, efficient, mechanical, instinctive, but humans? They made love like they were painting with feeling. She wondered if it was their weakness or their greatest strength. Could bonding be the reason why they didn't suffer breakdown? Not because they didn't treat intimacy like a task, but like a conversation between souls? She sighed, leaning back, hand over her glowing chest. "Leon Morgan," she whispered softly, "what are you teaching me?" Not just about humans, but about herself, and why her scientific curiosity was turning into something much harder to explain. Something warmer, something dangerous, something called longing. Rika stood outside the training field. Watching Leon spar with another human soldier, sweat glistened on their skin. Their muscles moved with precision, but it was more than strength. There was something alive in the way they moved grit. Passion, even joy. Torvak's warriors trained. Coldly, mechanically, without emotion. But these humans laughed during battle, taunted each other, grinned through bruises. To Rika it was confusing, fascinating, and somehow beautiful. She waited until Leon finished and stepped aside to wipe his face. "Captain Leon," she said, her voice more nervous than usual. He turned towel over his shoulder. "Rika, what's on your mind?" She paused, then finally asked, the question that had been burning inside her since that night. "How do you not break?" she asked, eyes steady on his. "When you bond so often, with so much energy, how do your bodies not fail?" Leon blinked, then slowly sat down on the bench beside her. He reached for his water and took a long sip before answering. "Well," he said, "the short answer is, we could. We weren't careful. But the real reason we don't is because it's not just about the physical stuff." Rika tilted her head, confused. What else could it be? Leon chuckled softly. "A lot of it is mental, emotional aids, connection, trust, comfort." He leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. When humans bond, especially in love or even strong attraction, our bodies respond differently. There's adrenaline, sure, but also oxytocin, dopamine. All these little chemicals that make us want to continue. Rika started noting the words. But he gently took her hand and stopped her. No, just write this down." He said, "Listen to it, feel it." She looked at him, startled, as his fingers lightly touched hers. "We don't do it to survive, Rika," he said, his voice softer now. "We do it to live." She blinked slowly, her body reacting again, not with fear, but with warmth. How can feeling make the body stronger? She asked, genuinely curious. Leon smiled. Because when we care about someone, our limits change. He stood up and offered his hand to her. "Walk with me," he said, and she followed without hesitation. They moved through the outer garden. Of the base, small patches of earth grass, flowers growing under dome lights. "Let me explain this way," he said, pointing to a flower with soft white petals. "This plant survives with water and light, sure, but what happens when it's loved, talked to, touched gently?" Rika answered. "It blooms more often. Its energy lasts longer." "Exactly," he nodded. "Humans are the same." She looked down, thinking deeply. "On Torvax, we do not speak during bonding," she said. "There is no eye contact, no emotion. We complete the cycle and leave." Leon turned to her, his eyes filled with something softer than sympathy, understanding. "And does it make you feel warm afterward?" he asked. She shook her head. "It makes us feel." Done. They reached a small bench by a glowing blue bush, and he sat again. She hesitated, then joined him. This time closer than before. "Maybe that's why it hurts your kind to repeat. The process often," he said. "If it's empty, it wears you down. It's full. It fills you up." She looked into his eyes and for a moment forgot her next question. "Are all humans like you?" She whispered. Leon chuckled. "No, some are jerks, but a lot of us. We care more than we show." Rika turned her gaze away, hiding her glowing cheeks. She felt strange things happening inside her in measured heat. Rapid breath, trembling, fingertips. "I don't understand this," she admitted. Leon smiled. "Neither do we, most of the time. But we feel it anyway, and maybe that's the point." Silence fell between them, but it wasn't awkward. It was warm, quiet, peaceful like the space between two heartbeats. After a while, Rika spoke again, this time in a whisper. "If I were to experience this kind of bonding, would it change me too?" Leon turned his head slowly, their eyes locking. "Rika," he said gently. "It already has." She didn't reply, but she didn't look away either. She realized then this mission wasn't about measuring human endurance. It was about understanding something no sensor could capture, why humans bond the way they do, and how that connection reshapes the soul. That night, Rika sat alone in her room. Holding a soft fabric Leon had given her a scarf with his scent, she pressed it close, not for research, but for comfort. Report remained open, unfinished, blinking on the screen. She couldn't explain today's findings with graphs or words, because what she had learned was not scientific, it was something far more human. The moon above the human base wasn't real. It was a projection on the ceiling, soft, silver, and surrounded by artificial stars, but to Rika, it looked more beautiful than any natural sky she'd seen. She stood barefoot on the soft grass of the indoor dome, clutching her tablet, her fingers trembling. Her mission logs were complete yet. She hadn't submitted them, because there was one part she couldn't explain, and one truth she was afraid to write. Every night, her thoughts wandered back to Leon, his voice, his touch, his laugh that echoed in her chest even hours later. She told herself it was curiosity, biology, proximity, but it was none of those things. It was something deeper, heavier, and far more dangerous. She had not just studied him, she had felt him, and now her heart ached in a way she had never trained for. That evening, she stood in front of his door. Her hand raised but frozen midair, her legs felt weak. Her stomach twisted like there were sparks inside. She could return to her room, pretend. This moment never came, but her other hand clutched the scarf he gave her, and that gave her courage. She knocked once, soft but certain. The door slid open, and there he stood, shirtless, tired and surprised. "Rika," he said, blinking sleep from his eyes. She looked up at him, her voice barely above a whisper. "May I come in?" Leon stepped aside. No questions asked. She entered slowly, the air inside warmer than the hallway. She sat on the edge of the couch, her hands in her lap. He poured water for her without speaking, placed it on the table and waited. After a long silence, she finally spoke. "I don't want to study anymore," she said, her voice cracking. Leon raised an eyebrow. "You're ending the project?" She shook her head. "No. I want to feel it." He sat down across from her, still silent, his breath steady, but eyes alert. She continued. "I want to understand not as a scientist, but as me." Then she looked into his eyes and asked the one question she'd never imagined asking. "Leon, will you bond with me?" His breath caught slightly. But he didn't move away. He leaned forward, speaking gently. "Rika, are you sure?" Her hands shook as she nodded. "I don't want data. I want to know what makes you feel so alive." He moved closer, sitting beside her now. "It's not just touch, he said, his fingers brushing hers. "It's trust, it's choice. It's the feeling of being wanted." She turned her hand over, letting their palms connect. Her skin glowed faintly beneath his, a soft shimmer of emotion she couldn't hide anymore. "I want to be wanted," she whispered. "Not studied, not assigned, just wanted." Leon leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away, but she didn't. Their lips met, not with fire, but with quiet understanding. She had never kissed before. Torvax didn't even have lips. But now, her body responded like it had. "Always known how?" She trembled, not in fear but in awe, as their bodies pressed together. She felt warmth, like stars blooming in her chest. No datapad could describe this. No recording could capture the way their breaths matched. The way her body melted into his. It wasn't a performance. It wasn't an experiment. It was something new, something ancient, something powerful. His hands didn't grab, they guided. "Held, comforted?" he asked with every motion, and she answered with every breath. Her markings began to glow brighter, a natural response her kind showed only during bonding. She had never activated them before. Now they lit up like galaxies along her skin. Afterward, they lay in silence, the only sound their slow breaths. Rika rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his human heart. He ran his fingers through her hair, and she felt safe for the first time in her life. "No pressure, no fear, no mission-only presence," she whispered. "I understand now." Leon smiled against her forehead. "Understand what?" "That humans don't break. Because they bond with more than just skin. They bond with their soul." The morning light inside the Earth station was soft and golden. Rika sat alone in her quarters, wrapped in a gray blanket that still smelled like Leon, her eyes were open, but she wasn't looking at anything. Not the screen, not the charts, not the blinking sensor lights. Something inside her had changed last night, something too deep for any report. Her glowing chest markings had faded back to normal, but the feeling had not. Her mind raced with questions, but her heart had only one answer. She had become part of the thing she came to study. She looked down at her report. Already 146 pages long, charts, hormone graphs, thermal scans, tissue resilience, all carefully documented. But now, those pages felt empty. They didn't hold him. They didn't hold what she felt when he touched her. She had experienced the most important part of human bonding, emotion. And there was no formula for that. A soft beep reminded her she had a scheduled transmission. With the Torvax Council, she tapped the panel.
Ow.
And her superior's hologram appeared, a stern elder with sharp silver eyes. "Report your findings, Observer Rika," the voice echoed. Rika took a deep breath, forcing her voice to remain steady. "Yes, Counselor. I have gathered full biological data." "And what of the endurance question?" She hesitated, fingers tightening around the edge of the desk. "Humans mate more frequently not due to physical superiority," she said slowly, "but because of emotional systems tied to comfort, pleasure, and mental reinforcement." The counselor narrowed his eyes. "You're implying that feelings improve performance?" Rika nodded. "Yes, feelings protect and energize them." There was silence. Then a sharp reply. "And where is the proof of this hypothesis?" She paused, staring at the section of her report labeled Emotional Influence Pending. It was blank, because to fill it would mean revealing everything Leon's touch. His words the night they shared, and that. She could not give them. "I was unable to gather that data," she lied. The counselor clicked his mandibles together in irritation. "Then you will return home for reassignment," he said. "This project is closed," before she could reply. The hologram vanished. Rika leaned back, closing her eyes. She had just lied to the council for the first time in her life. But it didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like protection. Later that day, Leon found her sitting by the garden dome. She didn't speak at first, and he didn't ask. He just sat beside her, hands folded, breathing quietly beside her. Finally, she turned and said, "I told them nothing." He looked at her. "Why?" "Because what I found wasn't for them," she said. "It was for me." Leon nodded slowly, understanding her completely without needing more words. "You're not going home, are you?" he asked softly. "I'll be forced to," she replied, "but only in body, not in heart." He took her hand, fingers lacing gently. "You can always come back," he said. "Or I can find you." Her chest glowed faintly again, just at his words. "I don't know what happens next," she whispered, "but I want it to involve you." That night, she opened a private log knot for the council. "Not for her species, but for herself," she wrote. "Leon showed me that bonding is not weakness. It's strength hidden in softness," he taught me, "that bodies may tire, but hearts do not break when held gently. I understand now why humans can love so often and so fully. They don't protect themselves from pain. They embrace connection anyway." She paused, fingers hovering above the keys, then added, "And I am no longer just an observer. I am someone who has felt the unmeasurable. I am someone who now understands why humans never truly mate alone." Outside her window, the stars shimmered like soft sparks on black velvet. She watched them, wondering which one would take her back to her people, and which one Leon might one day follow to find her again. Her mission had ended. But something else had begun. Something unrecorded, unapproved, and unstoppable. A story written not in data, but in touch, in trust, in the silence between two connected souls. The departure platform was quiet. Most of the staff had already returned to their rooms. And the air was still. Only the soft hum of Rika's transport ship echoed through the metallic walls. She stood at the edge of the platform, her fingers wrapped around the strap of her travel bag. Her back was straight, her eyes combut inside. She was unraveling. Leon stood across from her, hands in his pockets, trying to look relaxed. But his heart thudded loudly in his chest, and he knew She could hear it, neither of them spoke right away. What could they say that would make this parting easier? He finally stepped forward, holding out a small silver object. It was a data crystal, polished, warm from his touch. "This has everything you ever wanted to know about humans," he said with a soft smile. Rika took it gently, but didn't. "Look at it." "I didn't come for data anymore," she replied. "I came for something I never expected." Leon's smile faded into something deeper. "Will you go back to your people and tell them everything?" he asked. She shook her head. "No, they wouldn't believe me. And even if they did, they'd never understand." Leon looked away, swallowing hard. Then this. "This is goodbye?" Rika stepped closer, placing something in his hand, a vial of glowing blue liquid, her genetic essence. Something sacred among her people. "This is me," she said quietly. "Not for testing, not for recording, just for remembering." He held it like a flame, his fingers trembling slightly. "And what am I supposed to do with this?" Whispered. "Keep it," she replied, "or follow it." A silence settled between them, heavy and fragile. Rika looked up, her eyes shimmering like crystal rain. "In all my time studying life forms, I never found one like yours. You're fragile, but you don't break. You. But you keep loving. You fall, but you rise again." Every time, Leon reached for her hand, held it one last time. His voice was soft, almost a breath. "You made me feel understood," Rika smiled faintly. "You made me feel alive." They leaned into each other, foreheads gently touching, no kiss, no rush. Just the deep quiet of shared truth, their breath mingled. Two species, two hearts beating in the same rhythm for one final moment. As the transport began to power up, Rika stepped back. Her fingers slowly slipped from his. She turned without looking. Walking toward the boarding ramp, the door began. Too close, inch by inch, sealing the space between them. Leon didn't move, didn't breathe, until the final lock hissed shut. Back inside the ship, Rika sat at her console. She opened a blank personal log, not for her people, not for science. Just for herself, she began typing slowly. This was not a mission. It was a meeting. A collision between logic and feeling, a final experiment not in biology, but in belonging. She looked down at her hands, still faintly glowing from last night's goodbye. Well, she whispered softly, "I will return," and somewhere across the stars, she knew he was still standing there, holding the vial, staring at the place where she had been, not as a subject, not as a visitor, but as something he would wait for. Because humans don't forget the ones who touch. Their soul and aliens are not so different once they learn how to feel.